Welcome back inside UPLIFT Property Management. I'm Marley Davis, the Director of Operations here at UPLIFT, and today I want to cover 5 of the resident questions we get asked all the time. How fast is maintenance handled? Now, anytime a maintenance request comes in from a tenant, we are going to respond to that maintenance request within 24 hours. Of course, unless it's an emergency, then we'll get someone out there handling a fire or flood as quickly as possible. But standard maintenance requests, we are going to respond to them within 1 business day. And we at UPLIFT have a goal for our speed of the repair, from it being open to close to be under 10 days. And I can tell you, we hit that goal very consistently across all of our single family home portfolios. We're sitting closer to between 5 to 7 days on closing out maintenance issues. And again, like I mentioned, this doesn't have to do with emergency repairs. If there is something urgent going on at your property that's causing property damage, we're going to handle that immediately. But for something like a broken garbage disposal or one of the burners on your stovetop isn't working consistently, we're gonna make sure that that's handled, like I said, within that 10-day window for a speed of repair. Now, the next question we get asked all the time by tenants is, can I have a pet? Of course, this is property specific, so we're going to make sure that we ask them, which property are you interested in? Which property are you moving into? However, we all know that there are requirements that we have to uphold as property managers, as any landlord, when it comes to support or service animals. But a pet specifically, you can have property specific requirements. You can say this property does not allow pets, or this property allows cats but not dogs, or vice versa. Or you can have size limitations, breed limitations. But we do always get asked this, especially in San Diego. San Diego is a very pet-friendly community, so your tenants always want to know, can I have a pet in my rental property? Which is why it's one of the first things that we ever talk to you when you start as a client at UPLIFT Property Management, because the moment we list your property, tenants are going to start asking. Now, the next question we get asked is, what is the grace period for rent? A grace period means that although rent is due on the 1st, the grace period means that we're not going to charge you a late fee or move forward with the delinquency process until that grace period is done. At UPLIFT, we use a 3-day grace period, meaning that on the 4th of the month, we will charge a late fee and we will start pursuing them for their delinquent balance. But that grace period is really important to tenants. Sometimes people are more flexible and allow a 5 or a 10-day grace period, or sometimes there is no grace period. But over here at UPLIFT Property Management, we always recommend having a few days, typically 3 days, to allow your tenants to pay that rent at the beginning of the month. The next question we get asked, I love when I get asked this question, is how do I renew my lease? We want to make sure that these tenants stay as long as possible. Tenant retention is really important here at UPLIFT Property Management because we know it's the best way to keep consistent cash flow at your rental property. We allow our tenants to pay online via their tenant portal, and through that same tenant portal, they can renew their lease. We're typically going to send them 2 options. We're going to send that out at least 60 days prior to a lease ending, ideally 90 days prior to the end of a lease term, offering them another 12-month option or a month-to-month option, which, like I said, can be signed conveniently online via their tenant portal. And the last question we get asked all the time is, what happens during an inspection? We do once a year what we call our safety inspection, where we send out a trusted vendor to inspect the property for any habitability concerns, any possible property damage, or anything else that we should be aware of as property managers that's happening at the rental property. Those inspections are very quick. They're going to do a quick walkthrough of every room in the home. They're going to check, like I said, the habitability standards. They're going to check those smoke detectors and CO detectors and make sure that they're still operational. They're going to check angle stops and make sure that everything is good to go there, so that if a water leak were to occur, we could quickly turn that water off and resolve the issue. So our safety inspections that we do are normally going to take about 30 minutes, but of course that depends on the size of your home. If you're a 1-bed versus a 6-bed, it might take a little bit longer, but we explain to tenants that this inspection isn't even something that they have to be home for. This is just so that we can give our clients the assurance that their home is still being taken care of. I don't care if you have decorations that I don't agree with, or you hung up some curtains. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking to make sure that the property is still in good condition and that there are no safety concerns, because we're looking out for our tenants' best interest as well. Now, that's it for our 5 most frequently asked tenant questions. If you have a question for us though, feel free to reach out, leave a comment, give us a phone call. We'd be happy to answer any questions you might have about renting out your home here in San Diego.